Hey guys, I hope you guys are having just an amazing day and an even better week. We are here at the church. I'm just getting to work. We're about to launch into episode 5 of our OverCome series. We're finishing this thing off today. So why don't we hop inside and we'll go up to the set and we'll get started. Why don't you guys come with me? Here we are, guys. We're on the set for our Mountaineers online day camp. There's a reason I wanted to finish off episode 5 here in this specific place. And it's really because in the 2 weeks of putting all this stuff together, there were moments where I was stressed out, man. There were moments where I just wanted to freak out and just tear things apart and, almost have like a little adult tantrum because things just weren't quite clicking the right way. So that got me thinking about just sort of that idea of stress, right? And that's a topic that hits pretty close to home for me. Because I know that for me, that's something I struggle with. That's something I really wrestle with at times. It's just sort of stress and anxiety and doubt and panic. And so what I want to ask you guys is, what about you guys? What are the things that are stressing you out right now? I want you guys to take a moment. If you have that time, take some time and just sort of post a comment below. Let us know so we can be praying with you guys so that we can try to walk through this journey a bit with you. But let us know. For some of you, you have let us know. For some of you, you've reached out and you've talked to us and you've let us know and you've told us that some of the things that are stressing you out right now, some of the things that are really bothering you are the just sort of being stuck at home, right? Being stuck at home with the same 2, 3, 4, 5 people, whatever the number is. Now, look, don't get me wrong, guys. I love my family. I love them to death. I would do anything for them. But even with my own family, being with them day in, day out, right? Week by week, month by month, like for exorbitant amounts of time, man, that starts to take a bit of a toll. That starts to wear on, right? And maybe it's wearing on you. Maybe you start to feel like you're going a little stir crazy. Maybe it's the boredom thing. Maybe you're finding that you're stressed sort of because you're bored, right? Don't get me wrong, like I love Netflix, man. I love video games and I like being on my phone at times. There are other times I like to be unplugged from it. But I'll tell you, I am just so bored of my phone. I'm bored of listening to music and podcasts. I'm bored of TV, of Netflix and video games. I'm getting bored of all this sort of stuff. And I sort of crave for something else, for some new adventure. So maybe that's part of where your stress lies, is that you're not able to sort of go out and engage in the world like you used to. Maybe it's about the online schoolwork. Some of you guys have reached out to us and you've talked to us about just sort of the online schoolwork and how that's sort of causing some stress. And I'd love to be able to sit here and tell you guys I get it, but I don't because, well, to be honest, I've never really had to do online schoolwork, at least not yet. But I got to imagine that maybe is a bit of a shock to everyone. And that, it's different and maybe it's stressful because it's not what you guys are used to. And there's a lot of challenges that go along with that, right? Well, in us talking about this stuff, guys, it brings to mind a story that I want to share with you guys. It's a very personal story, but I want to give you guys a glimpse of sort of what stress and anxiety and panic looks like in the life of somebody else. And so I want to share my own personal story of it because, like I said, I struggle and I wrestle with this stuff. And I have for quite a while, for quite a number of years now. And for me, I think where things really sort of hit quite the head on it is a few years ago. As some of you guys know my story, I was working at a church down in Chatham, and I loved it, man. I loved that job. I loved working with those students. I loved working with the people there, and I loved the opportunities that God was giving me and allowing me to be a part of. And everything seemed like it was going great until it wasn't. And literally in about a 4-week stretch, it went from great to just sideways, just like that. And next thing I know, I'm having to leave my job, and I'm selling my home and I'm retreating. I'm moving back out east, but I'm really retreating back out east. And I get there, and that's where things start to really come to head for me. And that's where I started to really realize just how much I actually struggle with this stuff. So much more than I ever thought I did before. And the point where it really hit for me, guys, was I remember I'd accepted this job with this group called Youth for Christ. And I was going to be flying back to Ontario to fundraise, to raise support for this new job. And I was specifically going to be going to Chatham, because I got a lot of contacts there. And so the day before I'm about to leave, I'm in the car with my two boys, and we're going to the grocery store. And I drive past this blue Honda Civic. Now, this exact make and model, the exact color, this was the same car that my boss had. And it triggered me. The next thing I know, I'm just having this panic attack just like that. And I just feel like I can't breathe, and like everything just, it seems like it's in a blur. And I'm freaking out. And I remember I pulled over and I called a mentor of mine, and I called my wife. I reached out to these people that I knew that I could trust and I could talk to, these people that I knew were in my corner. And I explained to them what was going on, because I didn't even know myself at that time. I just explained to them, I can't breathe and all this sort of stuff. I'm freaking out. And I remember especially my mentor, but also my wife, but my mentor, he's just like, Terrell, you're having a panic attack, man. You are having a panic attack. And he's like, what's going on in your life right now? And so I talked to him about the fact I'm flying to Ontario. I got all this stuff going on. And he's like, dude, you can't do that trip. You're not ready for it. And that was hard for me to hear, and even harder for me to accept. But the minute I accepted it, and the minute I called the airline, which is something I never had to do before, to call an airline and cancel a flight, but I called the airline and I canceled the flight, it was like the panic started to subside. And it helped me realize, I was not ready for that trip, because I was getting so stressed out and freaking out about the thought of, what if I see this person? What if I see this person? What am I going to think when I drive by the church and I realize that I don't get to work there anymore? And so those were all sort of things that were hard to take and harder to go through. And I wanted to share that with you guys. It doesn't give you a wide picture of what panic and stress and anxiety looks like in somebody's life, but I wanted to give you sort of a small window into at least what it looked like into my life. And one of the things that I found that really helped, other than just sort of hearing other people's story, is when I heard and when I've read about the fact that Jesus wrestled with stress, that he really wrestled with this. In Hebrews, it says that he is like us in all things, except that he does not sin. He did not sin, right? And Jesus, as I said, he wrestled with sin. And we really read about this in Luke chapter 12. I'm going to look it up here. As you guys can probably imagine, I do not have this whole book memorized. So Luke chapter 12, verse 50, we read these words. It says, I have a terrible baptism of suffering ahead of me, and I am under a heavy burden until it is accomplished. For me, when I read that sounds like a lot of stress to me, right? Because here's Jesus, and he's looking ahead. He goes, there's a cross waiting for me. He's looking ahead to the fact that he was going to suffer and hurt and bleed and die for all of us, that he was going to have to take the weight of the whole world, the weight of all of our sin through all of human history on himself. So of course there was stress here. And in fact, in a different version of this same book, when it uses the word distressed instead of heavy burdens, right? He goes, I'm distressed by this, right? And it's not that he ended up sinning because of this stress. Sometimes we get so freaked out by it that we end up doing things that aren't right, but he was distressed by it. There was these points where he was like, man, I'm looking ahead to this and I see this stuff and it bothers me, right? And he understood why he had to do it, but that didn't mean that it didn't bother him. And so I've taken great comfort in that in knowing that the person who came to perfectly teach us and perfectly exemplify how to live life for us and really show us how to love people, that he also struggled and wrestled with these things, but that he also overcame those things. In fact, in John chapter 16, verse 33, we read these words, and I think this is a fantastic verse for us to finish off with, guys, because honestly, it's sort of like the theme verse for this whole series we've been doing. But in John chapter 16, verse 33, it says, I have told you all this so that you may have peace in me. Here on earth you will have many trials and sorrows. Man, did we ever get that right? I mean, let's be honest, life can suck sometimes. Like, it can be very messy at times. I mean, we're sort of living and experiencing that right now, right? And if that's how it ended, not super great. But Jesus doesn't end that way. He goes on, he says, but take heart, because I have overcome. Right? Jesus himself, he has overcome the world. He has defeated every enemy, right? He's won that victory. And it doesn't matter what the enemy is. It could be the enemy of anger, fear, doubt, anxiety, stress. He has defeated all of those things. And so in Jesus, we find somebody who's overcome this. We really find truly somebody who is our Savior and our Redeemer. But we also find somebody that because he's done those things, he's able to what? He's able to give us peace, guys. He's able to bring joy back into our lives. He's able to be our great comfort, right? And I don't mean like, when I say comfort, I don't mean like, living in a lavish or posh house. I mean, I'm talking about knowing that there's somebody in your corner who will wrap their big arms around you and hug you and hold you close to them and remind you that they will never leave you or forsake you, but that they're going to walk through every step of this journey with you guys and with me, right? And so those things are amazing for us to realize. And I think the challenge for us is for us, as I've said from week one, is really about us drawing closer to him. It's about us pressing closer to him, right? And the ways that we do that, guys, is once again, just get into this book. Get into it, read it, remember it. That's what Jesus did in the moments where he felt stressed, right? Connect with God, pray and talk to him, and get busy doing the work. I mean, these are three things that Jesus did himself as he overcame different obstacles and different stressors that he faced in his life, right? But two other things that we can do, guys, that I think are super helpful in all this is that we need to make sure that we've got the right people in our corner. People who are going to back us, people who are going to invest into us, who are going to love us and care for us, people who are going to help us at times maybe sort of carry that burden a little bit. People that we can go to, we can talk to, and we can trust, like the mentor I had mentioned before in the story I shared with you guys. And the last thing I want to say, guys, is it's not just about, when I say about having the right people in your corner, it's not just about having like friends in your corner. It's not just about having some adult mentors you can trust and you can turn to. But it's also about if you need to talk to somebody who's a professional, like somebody who's been educated, who's received that training to help counsel you through those things, to help walk through that bit of journey with you, then do that, right? Go after that. And if you need help finding someone, reach out to us. We would love to be able to help you with that. And so, guys, I just I throw out this stuff to you guys. I hope that this is a blessing to all of you, as I know that doing this series has just been a tremendous blessing to me. And I want to let you guys know that even though this series is sort of finishing off, we are going to be producing some more content here down the road. So stay tuned for that. We're really excited about that stuff. But until then, I hope that God blesses you guys. I hope that you guys have an amazing rest of the day. And more than anything, I hope that you will walk away today just sort of realizing that God loves you and he's willing to walk through every bit of this journey with you guys. Okay, so finishing off episode 5. Talk to you guys later, and we look forward to when we can connect with y'all. See ya.